Good morning, good afternoon. A warm welcome to all our attendees today from across the globe. Thank you so much for joining us for this webinar on leveraging cloud capabilities for your product testing needs. I'm Lisa Glenn, your host and presenter for today's session. Joining me as the expert speaker is Vipul Gupta, Senior Architect in Test Engineering and R&D from the Impetus Labs. Vipul is currently focusing on defining and building cost-effective software testing and ROI-driven test automation solutions for cloud-based applications. Vipul is a part of the technical panel for various testing conferences and is a regular speaker at testing events across the globe. In this 30-minute session, we'll discuss how we can harness the power of the cloud to address your product testing challenges. So let's go ahead and have a look at what today's session has in store for us. There has been quite a lot of hype around cloud computing lately and a lot of deliberation on how its capabilities can be exploited. Cloud computing is a model that enables convenient, on-demand network access to a shared pool of configurable computing resources such as networks, servers, storage, applications, and services. These resources can be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal management effort or service provider interaction. Every organization from startups, SMEs, to the large ones are considering including cloud in their product strategy. Cloud is being adopted and harnessed for various functionalities. So does this mean that software testing also needs to make a shift to adopt and utilize cloud benefits? The test configurations are growing in complexity, and the competitive pressures to deliver innovative and reliable applications to the marketplace faster is increasing. CXOs, test directors, and managers have one big question in front of them. How do I reduce the time to plan, install, configure, and validate complex test environments while improving the quality of testing? The traditional testing approaches are just not keeping pace with the demands of our customers. It's time for a breakthrough. It's time to look at cloud computing as a way to address the testing challenges. Now, in this webinar, we will be discussing about cloud computing capabilities and how a testing team can actually utilize the strengths and benefits that it offers. We will be talking in detail about why one should actually consider cloud for testing, and what are the characteristics of an application that qualify for usage of cloud for testing purposes. At Impetus, we have done extensive research on cloud-based testing and have successfully delivered projects to medium and large organizations. This session will be full of practical information that can be utilized by the testing teams while deciding to harness the cloud for testing. We will also be sharing the practical challenges that we faced and the approach that the team used to overcome the same during our quest to deliver high-quality products while taking maximum benefit of the cloud. Now, let's go ahead and look at some of the characteristics of the cloud. The key idea behind cloud computing is providing infrastructure, devices, frameworks, and operating systems as a service. With the cloud, you only need to pay for what you use. Cloud supports three distinct service layers. Now, the first is software as a service, or SaaS, which is the most popular with consumers, and some examples of this include Salesforce.com or Gmail. The next is platform as a service, or PaaS, which provides the end user with more flexibility and control as compared to the cloud application layer. And then there is infrastructure as a service. IaaS is frequently used to host other cloud platforms or cloud applications to supplement and oftentimes even replace a company's infrastructure. Now, the cloud offers measurable advantages over traditional physical infrastructure deployments. Public clouds resolve most of the traditional infrastructure pain points like time-intensive deployment, expensive setup, maintenance, and scalability as businesses grow with time. However, public cloud may compromise on security due to a shared environment, and thus there are options like private clouds which offer all the advantages of a public cloud within a single tenant environment. But before making a decision, it's essential to explore the differences between public, private, community, and hybrid clouds, and consider the advantages they can provide to your organization. Let's now look at some of the distinct advantages of using the cloud for testing. Looking at the multifaceted demands of the current market, its complexity, and the dynamic nature of the applications, it's obvious that product testing has become a challenging endeavor. Product testing needs to validate highly scalable requirements of distributed and component-based applications. Moreover, product testing also demands intensive capital investments. So, does this imply that sufficient test coverage and appropriate product testing is harder to achieve? Or does it mean that the companies that can afford the cost of infrastructure, lab setup, licensing, cost of tools, etc., will be the only ones to sufficiently test their products? For organizations that either don't have resources or just do not want to have a direct and dedicated investment in testing infrastructure, the cloud is a perfect choice to fulfill all test environment requirements and demands. As per our experience, if the cloud capabilities are exploited effectively, it can surely help in achieving enough test coverage while bringing down investment and configuration costs for any organization. As per a recent study, 30% of the bugs in production are due to the incorrect test environment configurations. And we all know that the efforts involved in fixing these defect leakages is huge. We can control the cost by detecting the defects early by using the right environment for testing. We know that the test hardware is not utilized to its optimal capacity after releases. With the cloud-based rental and pay-as-you-go model, the testing team is provided with a test lab for the required time frame, and as soon as the testing is over, resources can be decommissioned. This really helps in saving on the capital expenditure. With cloud, organizations can shorten the provisioning time because the cloud enables provisioning of test servers on an on-demand basis. Therefore, the procurement time taken for test resources is highly reduced, which saves a lot of other administrative costs as well. Moreover, we need to consider the costs involved in procuring the licenses of the tools. As you're aware, the cost of tool increases with the number of users. Therefore, companies don't test applications for the expected number of users, thereby resulting in their poor performance. Cloud computing encourages elasticity in the application platform. This implies that the actual resources used by the application may grow or shrink based on the load of the application. For example, the number of instances of virtual machines running on an application may dynamically grow during the peak load and may shrink automatically in the off-peak hours. For such cases, the cloud aids in testing upscaling and downscaling of the applications without any intervention from the administrator. The cloud also gives an opportunity for collaboration without boundaries, and geographically distributed testing teams can also share the same environment and use it for testing initiatives 24/7. These environments can also be shared with the development team for debugging purposes. With cloud, test engineers can now say, we've tested the software in a real environment in the cloud, here's the defect, and here's a link to the environment which I used for testing. The developer can then access that URL to see where the defects are and fix the same. It also removes the back and forth pressure that is usually observed in traditional testing environments. Now, you may be wondering, how will I be able to identify whether the cloud is useful for me or not? With the rise of social media, focused marketing events, and a steady stream of new mobile devices flooding the market, leveraging the cloud for testing is an uncertain proposition. External events such as the Super Bowl, Cyber Monday, Tax Day, Valentine's Day, a drop in the interest rate, or in fact any big news about a celebrity can suddenly drive unforeseen traffic to a website. If your website does not cave in under this humongous load, well, good for you. However, what if the site becomes slow or worse, crashes under this load? The cloud can really come in useful here. We've seen that the cloud is also useful for testing in the scenarios where the applications have migrated or are to be migrated to the cloud. Cloud ensures that the performance, security, and reliability features of these apps are working as per the requirements. The complex computational workloads, such as tightly coupled parallel processes or the applications that are very sensitive to network performance, can also leverage the cloud. They can achieve the same high compute and network performance provided by custom-built infrastructure while also enjoying the benefits of the cloud, such as elasticity, flexibility, and cost advantages. For example, Wall Street firms ran thousands of instances of complex Monte Carlo simulations at night to determine how to be ready when the market opens. This implies that for some applications, the economic and agility benefits may be very strong and they should be migrated quickly. In case of tightly integrated applications with fairly stable usage patterns, it may not make sense for them to move. This is just like the mainframe apps, which are not usually migrated to client-server. Cloud can also play a pivotal role in the scenarios where you want to leverage cloud-based hardware infrastructure and computing resources to perform traditional testing like performance, load, stress, and compatibility testing for regular applications. The cloud is also useful if you're looking to test high-performance computing apps or HPC-style workloads including pharmaceuticals, oil exploration, industrial and automotive design, media and entertainment, and more. But it's always essential to determine what is actually required and when to begin moving to the cloud so that you can really reap the real benefits of cloud capabilities. Vipul Gupta, our expert speaker for today's session, will now take you through the challenges you might encounter while adopting the cloud for your testing initiatives. Hi, Vipul.
Hi, Lisa. Hello to our audience. Thank you for being here today. Lisa was sharing with you the various benefits of the cloud and how it can help you in your testing activities. However, there are some challenges in adopting the cloud for testing. I will share some of them. The first major challenge is sharing of the resources and test environments. The sharing of the infrastructure becomes a problem when the same stack of resources is being shared between different teams that often results in resource deadlocks. Next issue that often pops up is the deployment of builds on various clusters. If the build is deployed manually and on a large number of clusters, then it will amount to additional efforts of installing the build on every other node by the testing team. Even the deployment of testing tools can sometimes give some problems. Another issue that comes up is execution of test suites on different clusters and monitoring the execution of the same. As the suite is executed on various clusters, keeping an eye on the execution status as well, receiving a legible consolidated result set from a cluster of machines becomes a challenging affair. The management of test data with clusters getting upscaled and downscaled becomes too challenging with time. I will now share with you the various operational challenges of the cloud. The public cloud providers have their own architecture, operating models, and pricing mechanisms and offer very little interoperability. This poses a big challenge for companies when they need to switch vendors. Vendor lock-in, regulatory compliance, privacy, and security are among a few customer concerns related to the public cloud. It is also seen that cloud vendors update their APIs and release their builds very frequently, which in turn constantly demands the product teams to keep a check and get their products validated for cloud vendors' builds as well. The improper usage of cloud-based test environments can also result in increasing the cost. Even though some vendors offer pay-as-you-go cloud usage services, this approach can be expensive if the resources are not controlled, monitored, and used efficiently. Additionally, performance of the cloud can also impact as sometimes the services are disrupted due to some maintenance or updates being done by cloud vendors. As public clouds are shared by numerous users, there may be cases where a company might have to wait for the required bandwidth. Security is also another critical factor that needs to be addressed. You might have heard about the recent incident where Sony was hacked and the data of about 100 million user accounts was compromised. This was the second biggest data theft actually that occurred in US and was carried out using Amazon's EC2 cloud. So security really becomes a major concern with reference to the data integrity. However, despite these bottlenecks, there are several benefits of harnessing the power of the cloud to test the applications and its infrastructure to ensure the correctness of product architecture, its implementation, and configuration. I would now like to ask you all a question. What was your biggest challenge in adopting the cloud for your testing initiative? Lisa, can you please run the poll?
Sure, Vipul. You all can now see the poll question on the right part of your screen. And we want to know your biggest challenge in adopting the cloud for testing. Your options are A, infrastructure sharing, B, deployment of builds, C, monitoring of test execution, D, test data management, and E, operational challenges. So if you could go ahead and make your selection right now. It looks like we have the results, and a majority of our audience has indicated deployment of builds as their biggest pain area. Vipul, would you like to go ahead and comment on those poll results?
Yeah, indeed, Lisa. Well, I agree with most of our respondents here. My team also noticed it as one of the biggest challenge that resulted in collaboration with development team to get that functionality added in their cloud creation utility. Well, we will discuss this issue in detail in our upcoming slides.
Great, thanks, Vipul. I would now like to share with our audience that we have designed a custom test approach that can help you adopt the cloud for your product testing needs. This defined set of activities will give a definite direction in your testing teams, or to your testing teams. Let me just take you through these activities one by one. As per this approach, the first step is to come up with a robust strategy. I'll share with you some key parameters to consider while creating an effective strategy. First, you would need to focus on analyzing product and business requirements to ensure that the product gets tested from a complete end-to-end perspective. You would also need to figure out the potential risks and create the mitigation plan. Another important parameter will be to identify the right testing needs with a focus on non-functional requirements like security, performance, and multi-tenancy, etc. The automation also plays a major role in making any test strategy successful. It assists in identifying the areas that can be automated, including unit, functional UI, web services, security, and performance. To derive the maximum test coverage, we also need to identify the right set of tools. Now, after creating a robust strategy, we move on to the next step, which is creating a strong execution plan. You should start with a cost-benefit analysis so that testing can be performed in an economical and optimized test environment. We recommend using the public cloud for consumer-facing applications and private cloud for areas that require integration with lots of local data and applications. Or perhaps you can get yourself a combination of both to get the desired output, as per your product and team requirements. You should also carry out the right scoping. The continuous integration process helps to identify errors in code or any other area early, thereby reducing the risks. Creating an execution plan based on infrastructure requirements team requirements, and time zones will also help these distributed teams to share the resources effectively. To avoid improper usage of resources, it's highly recommended to decommission the resources after usage. We'll now take a look at our next step. A strong strategy and an effective plan need to be implemented efficiently. It's recommended that the approach that you select should be open to customization and can incorporate all the changes suggested by the testing team. Identifying tools and effectively utilizing them to create and set up the environments will also help save on the provisioning time and effort. The test suite should be designed based on the business criticality and product testing needs and should be executed on the right cloud with a recommended stack of resources. Let's move a little bit further with step 4 of the approach, which is maintain. Maintenance is a continuous activity that is essential to any testing assignment. However, with a focused approach, one can minimize the effort spent on performing this activity. You can evolve continuous traceability metrics that will assist you in generating up-to-date metrics with user stories or requirements. I'll now share with you the last step of the approach, which is monitoring. Now, monitoring is one of the key activities in the cloud to keep track of execution, resources, and also to identify the improvement areas. The tools and frameworks that were identified initially should enable monitoring. They should also generate continuous traceability metrics for user stories or reports for tracking various cluster nodes. The metrics can be changed and updated based on the project and team needs. Furthermore, we would need to monitor whether the benefits of cloud are actually getting utilized or not. Now, we use this approach with one of our Fortune 100 clients who is a market leader in providing mailer solutions across the globe. Our client was working on building an online content delivery product while maintaining data isolation with various tenants who would be using the system. It also integrates with third-party payment gateways, and the user interface is exposed via web, iPad, and iPhone. The team involved in this product used complete cloud infrastructure for development, testing, and deployment purposes. The team really took the benefit of the 5-step approach and developed a complete end-to-end product testing strategy around cloud. I now would like to ask Vipul to share with you how we actually followed these steps to create a robust strategy for our clients. Vipul?
Sure, Lisa. We successfully used the 5-step approach and enabled our client to use the cloud effectively for their testing initiatives. The first thing that our team did was analyzing the product and business requirements and classified them into functional and non-functional areas, followed by looking for the constraints in testing any of them. The team also prioritized the test cases and test suites on the basis of functionality, business criticality, and release. This helped in executing the right set of test cases with every release, thereby ensuring that sufficient test coverage was achieved to all functionalities. The testing team worked very closely with the architecture group to carry out an extensive feasibility study on the 2 major cloud providers, that is Rackspace and Terramark. They found out that the compatibility of the application with these clouds and all the possibilities and problems that might arouse during testing. This helped in uncovering certain risks associated with both the options. We noticed that occasionally the time taken while provisioning the environment was too high. Armed with this information, actually we were able to formulate an appropriate infrastructure sharing plan for the team. This plan helped the testing team spread across different locations to utilize and take the maximum benefits of the available infrastructure as well as their time. We evolved continuous traceability metrics that helped in generating an up-to-date metrics with user stories. This helped in analyzing that every user story is mapped with a task. Every time a requirement was updated or changed, it was ensured that the same got reflected in the task repository and the team member picks up the edit task. The team also achieved end-to-end test automation as well. What they did was that they created the scripts that as soon as the build was received, the scripts automatically created the clusters and various nodes. The automatic process further validated the creation, ran the test scripts on different clusters using web services and functional UI layer, and to further save the manual efforts of connecting each and every server and for verifying different processes, the team created utilities to monitor test execution on nodes from their own local systems actually. So we use Hyperic to monitor the nodes during the execution as well. This was further integrated with Hudson to achieve the continuous integration of the test suites with the build process. The team used the framework that enables integration of all the identified types of testing. They created and automated the test cases by customizing the automation testing framework for functional, web services, security, and multi-tenancy. The golden image was maintained by the team that contained all the software required to successfully run the application, and that golden image got automatically updated with the latest product build before the test run. Even decommissioning of resources was taken care of after the execution of the test suite as defined in the execution plan. This saved a lot of manual effort as the team got the required infrastructure at a single click. The gamut of tools that we utilized during testing included a combination of open source, paid, and in-house tools.
Great, thanks, Vipul. I'd like to share with our audience that this test approach was derived from Impetus's test engineering maturity model. This model defines the key testing activities that are necessary to be performed to test any software product and helps resolve the ambiguities that arise during software product testing. As depicted in the diagram, this model aims to provide a definitive direction to provide nonlinear benefits in terms of achieving better quality and by having a dedicated focus on business goals and risks while keeping tabs on time and cost. This model is comprised of 5 levels that serve as a benchmark for any type of testing, including functional and non-functional. The future of the cloud usage for testing looks very bright. In fact, Gartner predicts that the cloud will see fairly rapid maturation and acceptance, reaching 50% adoption in enterprises by 2015. Now, it looks like we've received some questions from our audience, and would like to remind you once again to use the chat panel on the right to send across any questions to me that you'd like answered. But before we move on to the questions, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about Impetus Technologies. We offer product engineering and technology R&D services for software product development. We offer comprehensive end-to-end testing engineering solutions that reduce the product development cost, improves quality, and reduces the time to market. With ongoing investments in research and application of emerging technology areas, innovative business models, and an agile approach, we partner with our client base comprising large-scale ISVs and technology innovators to deliver cutting-edge software products. Our expertise spans the domains of testing, mobile, large data management, SaaS, cloud computing, social media, web technologies, performance engineering, open source, data analytics, among others. Well, it looks like we're going to get to some of those questions. It looks like the first one here I have for you, Vipul, is can I use the cloud to test my mobile application compatibility with different handsets? What do you think, Vipul?
Yeah, so in mobile actually there is a challenge that there are a lot of devices with variety of screen sizes and resolutions, operating systems and versions. So it is actually really tough to test all the applications on all the devices. So how cloud can be actually utilized for testing mobile app in mobile is like we can create a cloud of mobile devices that can be accessible from web, that can have a web-based access, and can be connected, and those devices are connected to live networks spread globally, and that network can be utilized to perform mobile application testing via cloud.
Great. And it looks like we have another question that came in. And this one asks, my automation test suite consists of 10132 test scripts and takes almost 3 days to get completely executed. I need to run this suite on 3 different browsers as well. Can I utilize the powers of cloud to lower down my execution cycle? What do you think?
So in this case kind of scenario, cloud can be really helpful. So what can be done is, like, you can identify the independent test cases in the test suite among those 10,000 test cases, and you can create the test environment on the cloud and can distribute the load evenly and execute your test suites on different machines with various browsers.
Oh, I'm sorry. It looks like we have time for another question here. This one asks, what do you exactly mean by installing build on different nodes? And this is in reference to challenging of adopting the cloud.
Okay. So in any product, whenever we use cloud to do any product testing or any product deployment, so what happens is that there are various clusters, and each needs to be configured with the latest deployment of build before the functionality can be tested. If, for example, there are even 5 nodes and deployment needs to be done on these 5 nodes by any installation engineer, it takes a huge lot of time to make them up and running for testing.
Okay, unfortunately, it looks like we've run out of time, and there are a few more questions that came in, but we will be addressing those questions by email. I really want to thank our audience for their time today, and we really hope that this discussion was a learning experience for you and will add value to your testing initiatives. If you have any further questions, please email us at inquiry@impetus.com or visit our website, www.impetus.com. This webinar has been recorded and will be available in the archive section of our website by next week. Once again, thank you so much for joining us today. Have a good day.